if you simply walk the labyrinth and become self-observant of what you're experiencing as you walk, and notice when your mind goes off into the future, or your mind is going off into the past, or you're thinking about something someone said, you're not present in this moment. If you just simply notice that and take an opportunity to let that thought go and bring your attention back to where you are right now, you'll simply experience peace. And it's a very powerful practice, because out in the world, when we're out doing our thing, we all so often forget to just bring our attention back to what's happening right now. And we get caught up in all that craziness and all that chaos, and simply all we have to do to find our source of power again is to take a deep breath and bring ourselves back to the present. So the labyrinth for me is just this great laboratory or practice ground where we can practice some of these essential life skills, like being in the present moment and finding peace, so that we can go forth in our next steps and our next actions from a place of power. The labyrinth will mirror to you what you need to see in yourself as well. And this is one of the other ways I love to use the labyrinth, is just like a giant mirror showing you what you need to see in yourself. For instance, if you're walking the labyrinth and you're impatient, chances are you're impatient off the labyrinth as well. And that if you look at that metaphorically, that probably shows up for you. I was talking with someone today who said, you know, I just wanted to reach the center. It was taking too long. And I had another friend who said that I just wanted to get to the center. It was just taking too long to get there. And when we talked about it afterwards, in the case of my previous friend, he said, you know, I looked at it and realized that there are certain projects I was trying to achieve and things I was trying to accomplish, and I just felt like it was taking too long to get there. And the labyrinth would mirror that exactly. So if you walk the labyrinth and pay attention to what you're experiencing on it, that is what it's teaching you. See, in my experience, what happens is people come to the labyrinth unaware, of course, understandably, it's kind of a new and different thing, and what they're unaware of is this concept of metaphor. So they'll come, and if they don't know about that, they'll walk the labyrinth thinking that they're there to learn about walking the labyrinth. And when in actuality, they're walking the labyrinth to learn about themselves. And if you understand that one piece of metaphor, that the labyrinth will mirror to you through metaphor what you need to see in yourself, it becomes very, very powerful. Let me give you an example. When I first, this is a funny one. For me, it's funny because it's embarrassingly funny. When I first learned about the labyrinth, someone had given me a book, and I'd found out about the labyrinth at the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, which has kind of spearheaded the labyrinth movement across the country. They have two beautiful labyrinths, one inside the cathedral and one outside in the courtyard, so you can walk it at any time of the day. And I got so excited when I read this book, and I saw the labyrinth as this perfect experiential tool for sharing with people what I teach, because I talk to people about self-observation and becoming aware and, you know, making choices, and I saw the labyrinth as the perfect place to practice that. So I started telling people, I'm going to go to San Francisco to walk the labyrinth. I'm going to go to San Francisco. It's like I was taking a pilgrimage to make a pilgrimage of sorts. And someone said, you know, that's great, Eve, but there's one just up in Keokea, you know, it's just right painted in the parking lot at St. John's Church, just not too far from here. And immediately, the first thing the labyrinth mirrored to me was a little bit of a spiritual attitude, if you will, because I didn't want to walk this sacred journey in a parking lot. I wanted to make this big spiritual journey out of it, and it's painted in the parking lot, and it's right there. So I actually flew all the way to San Francisco before I walked the labyrinth at St. John's. Now, the irony of that, of course, is that our spiritual journey is taking place all the time, no matter where we are, whether it's in the market or in the bathroom or at school or at work. It doesn't matter where we are. So I actually flew all the way to San Francisco, and then I was making a really big deal out of it because I invited friends. So I took my shoes off, and I'm walking the labyrinth, making this huge, carrying huge expectations for what was going to happen. I'd made a big deal out of this. So I'm walking the labyrinth thinking, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Oh no, oh my God, I invited friends and nothing happens? You know, and I'm totally tripping myself out the whole time. Which was also funny because it was mirroring to me sort of this addiction to spiritual drama where I wanted some big enlightening bolt to happen, and it wasn't happening. And I really didn't quite have that concept of metaphor and self-observation. Had I known that and noticed that I was holding on to all these expectations as I walked, then I would have learned about myself in that moment. But I was so caught up in expecting something on the labyrinth to happen that I didn't get that big aha. Until I got to the center, and I was about to enter the center, and I knew this is why nothing's happened yet, because it must happen when you get to the center. And so I walked into the center with full expectation, and just as I stepped in, the organ music in the cathedral started playing, and it was reverberating through the whole place, like very dramatically, and all of a sudden I had this flash of self-awareness, and all I could do was stand in the center and laugh, because it felt like I had this accompaniment to my own melodrama going on. Then the other thing, this was an extremely rich labyrinth walk for me. The other thing that happened while I was walking is that this tourist lady walked right across the labyrinth with her shoes on, and I went into all this judgment. Oh my gosh, doesn't she know what this is? What's wrong with her? She walked across it with her shoes, and I went into this full judgment, right? Now, if I'd understood this concept of self-observation and looking and seeing what I was doing, I would have seen that what I was doing was not serving me on my spiritual journey. Being judgmental is not exactly in alignment with my spiritual goals. And so if I had had that opportunity to notice that and let go of my judgment in that moment and move back into my heart and back to my authentic center, if you will, I would have seen that she was on the way to the altar and that I was right in the way of her spiritual path. Right? But I didn't see that at that moment. All I could see was that what she was doing. And so often through life, we walk around and we see what everybody else is doing, and we don't realize that if we take a moment to stop and notice whether what we're doing and see whether it serves us or not, that's where the power in our lives comes from. And that's what the labyrinth can teach us. For instance, if you're walking it and you're noticing that you're in self-judgment as you walk, I invite you to look at that and ask yourself, is this serving me? When you're thinking, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Am I bugging the person behind me? Am I too close to the person in front of me? And all that little dialogue that comes up. It's an opportunity for us to take a look and see what we're doing, which is doubting ourselves, and ask ourselves if it's serving us. And if it is, continue to do it. Walk the labyrinth, doubting yourself the whole time. Have at it. If you find, though, when you put it out here and you look at it, that it's not serving you, it's the greatest practice ground. It's just this 36-foot circle where you can say, I'm going to let that go and practice walking the labyrinth without self-doubt, just to see how that feels and what that's like. So it gives us that opportunity to make choices. The same is true if you're walking the labyrinth and you're doing like I did that time and start judging people. They're not supposed to laugh on the labyrinth. They're not supposed to dance on it. What are they doing? What are they thinking? They're going too fast. They're going too slow. All those things that we do throughout the course of our day, when you notice that you're doing that on the labyrinth, simply bring it out here where you can look at it, observe it, notice, is it serving me? If it is serving you, then by all means, rip us all apart as you walk. But if you notice that it's not serving you and helping you to feel more connected to your true essence, then that's a great opportunity to let that go and see if you can walk the labyrinth, allowing everybody else to walk it their own way as well.